You guys have been doing this for a year, and if we don't have necessarily tangible house results, we have tangible suites results.
We have policies in mind.
We do, yes.
Do the plenty, that's right.
All right, we're live.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the August meeting of the Monroe County Land Bank Corporation. We've got a relatively full agenda. Start off looking for a motion to approve the July 9th meeting minutes as distributed.
Want to do roll call?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Let's back up a step. Let's start with our roll call and see who all is here. Kevin Purcell, I am here. Annalise
Present.
here. Amy Grande
Here.
Jennifer Cesario.
Here.
Delia Wright. And then two absences today, Orlando Ortiz and Deborah Campanella. Not with us. Okay, now we will turn to our agenda, which includes approval of last month's meeting minutes. We're going to go over the treasurer's report, talk about some policies that have some small changes, looking to get approval. We'll talk about the land bank staff and potential plans there. And then lastly, talking about our upcoming meetings. We might have some changes in terms of times for those. And then if there is enough time, we may get into some property discussions, although I don't think those will be too substantive today. All right. On with the fun. Can I get a motion to approve the July 9th meeting minutes as distributed?
I'll move it. I'll second.
Hey, Jennifer, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, announcements and communications. I'm not sure if we have anything in this category that needs to be talked about. Pat, turn to you.
I don't recall if this happened since our last meeting or not, but we have money in the bank now. We have paid bills. And later in the agenda, we'll talk about some policy changes that we recommend based on using those policies, realizing that some things in there didn't necessarily make the exact sense based on paying those bills and figuring out how to do that. But that's great news. We have some cash to spend on things as needed. Not enough to do everything we need for sure, but we're at least getting the structure in place. So that's exciting. And it is 1 year since you've all been meeting together. And so that is really something to be proud of. The fact that all of you are still here is important. This has been a long road and it will continue to be a long road, but we're doing good work, maybe a little slower than we all want, but we're building something that is going to be bigger than us, and that takes time. So thank you.
Well said. And yes, your one was a lot of slow digging, but hopefully we're going to see some real jumps in year 2 in terms of outcomes.
I hope so.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, next on the agenda is our treasurer's report.
Okay, well, we have a treasurer's report from the creation to July 31st, 2025. The beginning balance was 0. We had a deposit from our LBI funding of $13,216.36. We had expense withdrawals to pay some bills, some dues, and some insurance. The total of the withdrawals was $4,024.36 for an ending balance of $9,192.
These will be a regular feature of our meetings moving forward. It is called out in the internal controls and finance policy. So we'll make sure we prepare this with Amy for every meeting. And feel free to ask questions and let us know how this is working for everyone.
Any questions today from anybody on our initial treasurer's report? All right.
How we pulled out, because the LBI funding is reimbursement based, so how do we have cash on hand? Do we have bills out there that have not been paid yet?
So there is a percentage of advance that we requested.
Oh, so they did release that.
A portion of it, yes, and that is based on the LBI funding. This extra balance is based on what we anticipate for 1 month of potentially employee salary. It's very rough, but that's kind of what that number is based on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next topic is some of our policies, and as Pat mentioned briefly, On a couple of these policies, we already had approved, but having put them into reality, there were some small changes that were discovered that seemed to make sense for us to approve. So we'll go through them one by one, and sorry, that's for the internal control and finance and the procurement policy. The acquisition policy and disposition policy, I don't believe we had formally approved as a board.
Not at all, no.
And so the hope is that we may be able to formally approve that today. So we'll start with the procurement policy. Pat, do you want to go through? I know that this was all sent out to everyone beforehand.
Mhm.
I'm sure everyone's had a chance to take a look. I know that many of them, many of these changes relate to just the dollar figures and making sure cutoffs are where they should be. There are a couple changes where we just specifically reference general municipal, New York general municipal law in a specific sections.
Yeah, so that's actually just a hyperlink. That's not a change.
Okay,
But Lisa, as we were working through the process, realized that our categories were not mutually exclusive, which is necessary for the way they're set up. To Kevin's point, there was overlap, and so therefore, if we were to start to use them, we would get to a point where we had a bill for $5,000 and have to make a decision based on where it should go. Not how it's meant to be. That was an oversight on our part. So what we did, and you'll see on page 2, section 5A, there's purchase categories. Also, these policies sometimes are drafted with a little more legalese than necessary. And so based on some of that, we tried to make it a little less legalese and easier to understand for the average user of the policy. So the suggestion is to remove less than 1,000 and make it purchases of 1,000 or less. And then, of course, repeat that later on in the section to make sure it matches. The second category is $1,001 to $5,000. And then the third is purchases in excess of $5,000. So that way they are all mutually exclusive, and then that is repeated in the text of that category as well. Open purchase orders mirroring that language using the or less rather than under. And then if you move, and please stop me if you have questions. If you move to page 3, very similar emergency purchases of $1,000 or less. Also just makes it easier, less, $999 is harder to remember than $1,000. So once again, just trying to make it more user-friendly there, not a substantial difference. On page 3, D, purchases requiring bids or purchases. Once again, making sure that those are mutually exclusive and then changing the language to be a little bit more user-friendly. There's a bunch on there, so I won't read them off, but it's the same concept of trying to make sure that the numbers are nice and round and easy to work with. And we just thought that based on our experience, that would make it easier and make sense for everyone. And then I believe that is it for the procurement policy, but let me just double check.
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
And so anything in blue is just a hyperlink. That is not a change.
Thank you. Questions from anyone on these proposed changes? They seem relatively straightforward. Can anybody want to make a motion to approve this updated internal and control and finance? I'm sorry, try that again.
Sorry, I flipped those around.
Yep, no, my fault. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the updated procurement policy?
Second.
Thank you, Jennifer. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that has been formally approved. We'll now move on to the internal control and finance policy, and I think there's just section A1 is the only spot where we have changes, and this is a small wording change, but I think again comes out of the experience of actually utilizing this and trying to make it a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, so this one we can thank Grace for, actually. We were working through the simply standard operating procedures for how do we go about and make sure that we have a payment authorization that goes through the policy appropriately. Grace started diagramming that out and realized that the payment authorization voucher was unclear as to what that is. And working through that, we realized that the payment authorization is a process and the expense payment voucher is a thing. And that's how it's meant to be in the language, and there was probably some confusion as we were drafting these, and also we pulled these from other land banks. So either something got mixed up, or maybe theirs is unclear, and we have someone better at our land bank to make the correction. But so based on that, Grace and I talked, and we realized that we want to separate those two things, and I sent that out in the email. You know, there's a process, which is payment authorization, it needs to be backed up by an expense payment voucher. And so then we replicated that language in A and B to make it clear, and then we submitted an expense payment voucher to, or model to Amy to authorize payment and things like that. And that then went through the process of approval with her, and then being authorized through the bank account as well. So the change is, this one is maybe semantic, but it's important semantics because it makes it so that it makes sense in the process. Questions on that? I apologize. I think I explained that better over email than in person.
Any questions from anybody on this potential change? Can I get a motion to approve the updated internal control and finance policy? Amy,
Second.
Anna, all in favor? Aye, anyone opposed? Okay, 5-0, yeah. The next two are the policies that we have not, as a board, formally approved to date. There has been a fair amount of discussion. I know these have been circulated multiple times to board members. The first is our acquisition policy. You have a copy in front of you in our packet. Are there questions from board members about the policy that is currently written and in front of you? Do people have concerns? Are people feeling ready to move forward with adoption? And also I should add, Pat, is there anything you would like to add in terms of what has been, what we have in front of us, what has been sent out?
I would like to add that this isn't necessarily permanent just because we adopted today. As we move through the process, just like the other two policies, we start to use it as a group, as a board, as a corporation, we will understand the need to modify it accordingly, and we should do so and feel comfortable to do so. So with that in mind, we have done our best to make sure that this policy we believe is going to work for the Monroe County Land Bank Corporation based off of other land bank policies in New York State. But we did make modifications. We did try to make it make sense for us based on what we know we'll be doing. We clarified the guiding criteria based on what we want to do as a land bank, as far as I know. We tried to make it a little more clear than the policy that we are basing this off of. So I think at this point, this is the best version of this that we've seen. And I'm confident that it will help us and work for us. But I'm also confident we will change it over time.
Comments, questions, concerns, other thoughts from anyone here? Hearing none. Does anyone like to make a motion to approve our acquisition policy?
I'll move it.
Anna? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Talia. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Excellent. And it's passed. And then our last policy to look at today is our disposition policy. And this one is there's obviously a bit more to this. Again, we've had several iterations of this. I think it's fair to say that the idea here was to, with what we have in front of us, and Pat, please jump in if you think I'm stating anything incorrectly, but is to have a very wide view to include potential programs, even if we don't think they necessarily are going to be ones that we're going to be using right off the bat. It can certainly still be included in the toolbox that we have. It may not be a tool that we're going to use right away, but it keeps the options wide. Anything else, Pat, that you want to talk about in terms of this particular policy?
No, I think Kevin, you explained it quite well, actually.
You folks on the board have thoughts, your discussion, people want to move forward in voting? How do people feel?
This offers a great deal of flexibility, which is good.
Yep.
Kind of
And-
put it all on the menu here so that we're not limiting ourselves.
And it's gonna change, just like our
That's
other
right.
policies. We'll notice needs that arise and make attempts to make it work for us.
Yep.
But I think it's wide enough that we don't have to do that right away, which is what we're trying to do.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion to approve? Sally, thank you.
Second,
Second from Anna, all in favor of approving the disposition policy as written here? Aye.
and I,
Anybody opposed? Okay, and sweet. Got, I believe that we now have all of our policies we've been working on have been approved, is that correct?
All the current
Yeah, right,
policies.
current ones.
So there is a
Maybe others
chance
that-
that we may need more policies
Sure.
depending on staffing changes, what we do as a land board. I will say policy, this work is not something that I take great joy in. I'm hoping that we can end this and get to some other work. But it is necessary for us. We are required to have most of these policies as a land bank. And so we are, at our 1 year anniversary, I think we've satisfied our obligations that are required at this point until we make some changes in how we do things.
I think we will see that with this.
To the whole team. Grace, Lisa, and then the chairman Purcell have been instrumental in helping us get these moving forward.
Well, certainly a huge shout out to the whole team behind us, because you guys everybody on this team is incredible. And to Grace as well, having just come on board, but Pat especially, I do want to shout out you because you have been relentless in pushing this forward, and I mean that in the best way possible, in keeping us on track, so thank you.
Zealous.
There you go.
you have other things on his plate too, so it's great that, moving forward.
Absolutely. Okay, next topic on our agenda is land bank staffing. And you received a separate, second packet when you walked in, or you should, that says Monroe County Land Bank Corporation request for, oh, well, yeah, we want to talk about that.
They're
but
related, so we can.
They're related, so Pat, I'll let you.
So, I think we talked about last month that, to Kevin's point and Anna's point, we all have other things going on, and so to, move things forward even more, we need a little more, firepower. And so, we are exploring, how we can do that. And so we still don't have a perfect clarity on what that looks like. But we are hopeful that we can enter into some sort of agreement with MCIDC. There's various configurations that Josh and the attorneys at MCIDC have explored, whether it's a professional services contract, whether it's an employee lease agreement. There are different things. In the end, they can mean the same thing for us in terms of finding someone to help us out. We don't have that to share with you in terms of what exactly we're going to do. We've been trying, but we need to nail down both the dollar value for that. We need to nail down the exact scope of work, which we are pretty close on that. We've already shown that to you, so that's not going to change too much. And then just what the terms between MCIDC and MCLBC will be. We think we'll be close. We tried to get it done for this meeting. We just couldn't. But we're hopeful that we can move forward with that. Questions, because I know that's not giving you a lot to go on in terms, but I guess, does anyone have questions on time frame or how this arrangement will work, or any concerns or anything like that?
You clearly talked in great detail with clarification of the last meeting.
Just a little to add, if we go with an employee lease agreement, which MCIDC's attorneys recommended, it might actually be cleaner and easier, because in that case, the employee would report directly to the board as opposed to reporting to MCIDC under a professional services agreement and then us having to go through them, so. It is a potentially cleaner option.
In terms of timeline. Were we thinking, do you still think it's reasonable to get somebody in potentially by October first?
I think so.
That kind of the
I
rough
do, yeah.
guesstimate, if we had to put one on there?
I think that can work.
Yeah,
We're very close in terms of nailing down all the details, nailing down the dollar value. If we can get those nailed down, MCIDC said they can go out to, look for an employee immediately.
yeah, excellent.
So,
That's great,
October 1st feels comfortable.
It's
great.
definitely a priority, so I think that's realistic.
And then they'll move quick, none of the holdup is on there, and it's just us determining kind of our budget and our
Yeah.
scope of work.
Right.
Yep.
More than anything.
Awesome. So, and then, I'm sorry, so that's our
Mhm.
potential staff member, and then you've got a packet in front of you that relates to two potential RFPs, one for accounting and bookkeeping services.
Yep.
Sorry, maybe, are there potentially
There are
three here,
so-
audit services and then general counsel?
Yeah, and I apologize, we printed them all together just to make it easy to distribute. But so we have, as a nonprofit entity, we need at a minimum to make sure that we have audit services before the end of the year. Because we need to conduct an audit that will then be reported to New York State, and it will be compliant with ABO. So we know we need to take that up. Josh can help us with many of the legal services we need, but not all of them, especially when we get into potential conflicts of interest. There are things that he may not be able to do for us. And Josh needs to refine this based on what he knows his abilities are, or what I should say, the law department's abilities are. So this is subject to change, but we're providing it to you so you have a general idea of what we're looking at. And dates on here are very ambitious and not really realistic. They're just kind of there as a placeholder. But as I was getting them together, I was trying to focus on, how quickly we want someone on board.
See, and I guess the big question with the RFP for legal services is it's not expensive to do a closing, transaction. So I don't know. I mean, we could almost one-off those, they'd be like when we want to sell it, like go to outside counsel and get an outside counsel, it'd be under our limit, so we might want to just RFP for the general counsel duties. And if we get somebody who doesn't have real estate experience, that's probably okay, if they have municipal experience. Because doing a house closing is, they charge, you pay the title company and you pay the attorney a few $100. It's literally a house closing.
Yep.
We might be able to just do that with verbal quotes under our procurement policy.
And then the last is for accounting and bookkeeping services. So this is not strictly necessary, but something that based on our conversations with MCIDC was advised. That's how they set up their relationship for their accounting and bookkeeping. They have an RFP. They found that it's cheaper to hire that out than to have someone in-house to do that work on a day-to-day basis. There's generally not enough work to keep someone busy for 40 hours a week on that. It could be a part of someone else's duties within the land bank structure, however you want to do that. But we may not get the right person who has the skills for that, plus some of the other work we want them to do, which is a bit more programmatic and focused on delivering the end goal of our mission. So that one is something that we will, when we are comfortable, put out the door, explore, see what the price is. If we're comfortable with it, we can enter into that agreement as well. And my goal for all of these is that we will get these out relatively soon. So that way we can understand both the price point for a potential staffer and the RFPs in close proximity. So that way we make sure we don't overcommit in any way.
If there's change, like I think for the audit services, we need to have a single audit, just because of the ARPA funding. So
I think you're right if we spend over $1 million, but if we're not actually spending over $1 million.
750.
But my understanding is we have to actually be spending it.
Right, for this year, whatever year
Yeah.
we've been that.
Yep.
Yes, but if it's gonna be for more than 1 year, I mean, assuming that we're gonna spend over 750 at some point.
We're gonna try.
Yeah, we'll wait in 2026.
Yeah.
We will spend.
So in 2026, we'll need a single audit.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're planning on doing this every year, so I think
I see, yeah,
you
yeah.
would
Okay.
include it in the RFP and ask for a separate, like, itemized.
Yep.
This is how much I would charge for this, the financial audit, single audit.
And Jennifer, that's actually perfect. So the reason I'm sharing these with you now is so we can get comments back before our next meeting.
Okay,
And ideally, and we'll send them digitally as well, but I just wanted to print out a packet to share at this meeting. But our goal is to have all of you review these, give us your input. We can make modifications, we can make changes, and then, if we are able to move forward before our next meeting, great. If we can't, and we need a motion to move these forward at the next meeting, we can also wait till then. I would not like to, but we can. But either way, I definitely want input and changes.
Yeah.
And I know Kevin has already offered some changes that have not been implemented. We just ran out of time this week.
So yes, if others have a chance to review and to provide feedback via email, that would be wonderful. So I'm sure there are other
Yep.
thoughts like yours, Jennifer, that are gonna be helpful in finalizing this RFP.
And I'll send the Word docs out later.
Perfect. Thank you.
And-
Any other input?
Oh, I was just gonna say, so these are kind of the initial that I know we need to worry about for compliance with various grants, compliance with state law. We do anticipate we'll have other RFPs that we need to look at. If we move forward with acquisition of properties and need demo, we will go out for demo RFPs. And we have a draft of that nearing completion, but it's not ready yet. And then as we move forward, there may be others as well for, property services, all sorts of things. So I anticipate we will be continuing to provide lots of paper to you and emails regarding the various RFPs and policies as we implement some of them. Amy, you look very pensive.
I'm thinking if we take properties into ownership after the September auction, the demo I would prefer that we did it before winter. So that would be a really tight schedule,
Yep.
and that's where my head was, that's
Yep.
the face I was making.
So we can likely have for you at the next meeting a RFP for demo. And then if we know which properties we're taking on, we can list that in the demo RFP, which is the ideal. Because then people can, take a look at it and see how bad it's gonna be.
Right.
So we can do that and probably have that 98% of the way to go. And then once we have properties in possession, be ready to
Do it
hire
all at
someone.
once in the next meeting?
Yep. I
That'd be
think so.
great. That'd be great.
I mean, it will
What was
be,
your pencil?
it will be 3 months past that till we can actually do that because of the referral process and how long it
That's what I was
takes.
gonna say, how are we gonna get the,
But we could potentially have someone ready to go on with the RFP and understanding that once we have them in possession, we can move forward.
right, but it might be December.
Yep.
By then.
Yep.
So I don't know, before winter is my only shape.
There's that second step, yeah.
I mean, and that's why we will probably have to have a property maintenance and security RFP before that. And we can get that out the door, so that way any property, so some of those properties or structured parcels have structures on them. We of course will need to maintain them over the winter if we have them.
Is where my head was.
Well, we have the county has 9 months, and that's 9
Okay,
months. like,
yeah, good
It
point,
like, it
yeah.
doesn't have, it doesn't have to take them into ownership possession right away. So there are, if we're not gonna make the deadlines, we could take them into possession, so
Yeah.
the county could take them in February, January or something like that,
Yeah,
February, and then,
knock it
and then
down.
start the process, get it to us in
Yeah.
March, everything our
Okay.
ways around, But
Okay.
we should have all that set up, because then we're gonna need to move quick.
Exactly.
Like demo and spending the money.
Would it make sense to go through a potential timeline where what the timeline looks like for these properties? Just, I know you and I have talked about it, but I don't know if everybody's aware of kind of the various steps that are gonna have to occur before we can get to the demo.
Yeah, I think Amy and Josh were just talking about it. Why don't you
Yeah,
spell that out a little bit
yeah,
for
if you
us?
guys don't mind, just for,
If you don't mind. At
Thank
the end of September, probably the third week in September, there'll be a in-rem auction held by Treasury. People will bid on properties and put a down payment on them, and then they have X number of days to close. Anything that is not purchased by a third party, Monroe County could consider taking into ownership. It was my intention to bring that list, good, bad, or ugly, to this land bank for consideration, so that you could take a look at it. And then if you want to take something into ownership, the county would take it into ownership with the caveat that the land bank was the actual end owner.
Mhm.
And then we would, once we had it in ownership,
We
could
go to
submit
ledge.
To ledge. Go ahead.
And then once you submit to ledge, it's a 3-month process where the first month it's introduced. And then the second month it goes to committees, and then the third month it goes to ledge.
So just to be
But
clear,
it is a matter of ordinance, or-
Yeah, we probably could. I did that with the lawn.
I mean, it's something to, it's a possibility, but I think to Kevin's point, it's potentially October, November, December to what Josh was saying. So December would be the easiest month to actually own them or take possession of whatever it is. And that is not ideal for demolition and other things. Could we potentially move that to November and maybe make it work? Maybe. That's still a very tight time frame in terms of
But-
weather and other
And
things.
the flip side of that is maybe the county doesn't take them into possession till December, and so that the county or the land bank isn't sitting
Risk.
with the risk and the security costs
Yeah.
over the fall. You know, because one of the two parties would have to pay for that either
Right.
way, and if we just wait till we're
Yeah.
much closer to when we can actually do demo, that might make more sense.
Plus it gives us room to breathe.
Indeed. Find that, the RFP for the demo. Not trying to do that. You know, tighten timelines.
15-day period.
Yeah.
When will you know what's going to be on the auction block?
We will all know as soon as it goes on the website. Got it. I checked a few days ago. I didn't see it. Let's see if it's up now. No.
And the auction is going to be September 17th at the airport.
They picked a day.
Yes, we did pick the day, and we're being strict, the county is being stricter on bidders that we're allowing in for various reasons. We had too many people. It was a bit of a mess last year with bidders. But if any of you would like to come and, you know, make a stop and kind of see what it's like in the event we decide we want to bid in future years.
That's
Right.
Wednesday, the 17th.
It's Wednesday, the 17th.
Is that public?
It's a public auction. Anyone can go. Yep.
But is it like out there that,
No.
okay,
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, it will be, but I mean, there's no issue with the date. Well, that's the date we've picked, and I mean, it could change with the notices, but that's the date that is currently on target for.
Okay,
That's
so,
helpful, actually.
thank you. All right, next topic is our upcoming meetings. We have, although this meeting is going to, I think, end up being relatively short. Or at least not the full hour. Many of our previous meetings have been, and we suspect that September is going to be particularly long because we will have just had the auction and we'll have some discussion about properties. And so the hope is to extend our September meeting to an earlier start time of 3 o'clock, go from 3 to 5. With the idea, we have several board members who at 5 o'clock have a hard cutoff. If we finish up early, that's great, but would allow us to get through all of the items on the agenda. Wondering if the board members that are here today are aware if that will work for them on September 24th to do 3 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. We're very happy not to see you on September 24th. We will think of you in a much nicer climate.
that'll work.
That will work for you. All right, Jennifer, yes, that's okay. And then, and Pat, are we, I know for October, November, December, we're looking at 3:30 as a start time. And is that the idea being ongoing into 2026? Is that correct, or is it just for those three?
It would probably be for 2026. So
Yep.
we have not developed the 2026 schedule
Yeah.
in, October, November. We'll probably do so that we can
Yep.
adopt in December. But to Kevin's point, some board members have hard stops at 5, and so we want to make sure that we have time. If we finish early, that's okay.
That's right. So that's the proposed change. Does anybody have any issues with 3:30 as a kind of an ongoing starting time? All right, great. So we'll incorporate that into our, and
Can I just note, I
Oh,
should
yes.
have bolded that Thursday, November 13th is the one that we haven't discussed about what date everybody can do if we want to do the 13th, because normally it would be on the 12th, but that's the ledge meeting.
okay.
Or we could also do the following Wednesday on the 19th. But we kind of thought it might be easier to do those days, especially for the Thanksgiving day.
Right. But
Just
that,
wanted to point out
yeah,
that's
yep.
not the same date as.
thank you for pointing that out. Unless anybody has any objections currently for Thursday, November 13th. Well, I guess would be to put it on there, and if we happen to hear much feedback, we can always adjust, but for now, that's. Okay, the next item on the agenda is our properties, although I'm not sure if we really, if there's much discussion to be had today on that, or if there's any updates that we think are necessary. I don't think there are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next item on our list is our logo development. And I think Grace has some information for us. This is a lot of fun.
Yes, I just have some updates based on the current responses for the survey. So the current preferences, the majority of people prefer a horizontal orientation of a logo. The image reference was kind of varied across the board, but the majority did prefer kind of a reference or incorporating landmarks or local significance. The color scheme preference was more towards cool or neutral tones, so light blues, light greens, and browns. The top 3 associated words were properties, community, and productive. And based off the example logos, the last question, logo 2 and logo number 3 were the most preferred. So there are similarities between both of those. Both are kind of horizontal, have a blue-green kind of color scheme, and feature like a single house silhouette. Yeah, so 3 and 2. So I think based off of the responses here, I think there's a direction we can go in.
For print
Mhm.
and cost effectiveness, 3 would be cheaper, I suspect.
So our next step is working with the county's communications department, and we will provide them this guidance to get them started. In terms of exactly what they'll provide back to us, I'm not exactly sure. We have a good graphics person who does good work, so I'm confident we'll get something that we like. Whether we'll get multiple samples or one sample that we then tweak, we'll find out and I'll let you know. But go ahead.
I was just thinking, if they do a landmark, could you mention that? We should probably make sure it is not in the city.
Yep.
And in the county.
Right.
You know, because most of the landmarks would be in the city.
Yeah,
You know, you don't want Kodak Tower sitting there or something.
yeah.
So we've already talked about that with the graphics person.
Good.
So we've kind of given them an idea of this and shared the survey with them and some other things, but not the results yet.
Well, exciting stuff. Look forward to seeing some potential.
I know it seems small and maybe even silly in the grand scheme of our work, but it is a necessary part of our effort and will help us in the future. So that way we have an identity, which then will make it easier to get partners to work with us and things like that.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other topics or issues that anybody on the board wanted to raise or discuss? Hearing none, we are now scheduled for our next meeting on Wednesday, September 24th at our special time for that meeting, which is 3 p.m. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
I'll second it. Everybody in favor? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the evening.
You too.